Hello and welcome to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM 89.0 and ArrowFM. This past week, WWE superstar legend and Hall of Famer Bruno Sammartino passed away. And to celebrate his legacy and all that he meant to the wrestling world, we will be beginning the show this week with a 10-bell salute. Thank you very much. Now on with the show. Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM and ArrowFM. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey.
So normally at this point in the show, what we'd do is we'd run down Raw, we'd run down SmackDown, we'd try to squeeze it into 28 minutes. But this week, something special happened. We got the 2018 WWE Superstar Shake-Up. So people drafted through and all around the place, and what we're going to do is we're going to go down the list, and we're going to talk about some things that potentially, in perfect worlds, we could see happening with each of these people. Of course, there's going to be some of them that we don't have anything for, but we'll get there, So we're going to start off. The first pick to Raw, at the time, the United States champion Jinder Mahal.
That was an interesting pick. Honestly, his biggest plan could be to put him against the soon-to-be Universal Champion. Because who's going to cheer for Jinder Mahal over Roman Reigns?
I guess they sort of try everything to get people to cheer Roman. I think putting up against Jinder might actually do it. I think you got something there. I honestly had very little for Jinder. He if you didn't watch the show, he lost his United States title to Jeff Hardy. So he doesn't have his championship with him anymore.
Although he has a rematch at the Greatest Royal Rumble event.
He does. I don't know what's happening with the titles. So honestly, he could get it, and then the Intercontinental jump brands at that same. As of this moment, he doesn't have it.
Yeah.
The only thing I've got for him, I'll mention later on. So we'll go with the next pick. It is a stable. It's 3 women. It's the entire Riot Squad.
They're definitely powering up a women's division that definitely needed a little assistance. But we'll have to see where they go. I think my biggest plan for them was really just to push Roby and to eventually have her face her and the Riot Squad, I guess, face Nia eventually. But I have no clue how far down that would be, down the line that would be.
Yeah, I don't know what we're doing with this women's division. It seems like everything at the moment is wrapped up with a neat bow. And we're going to have to start some new feuds going. My only one for this is going to be mentioned later on, so I'll pass again. The next one, they were quote-unquote free agents because SmackDown didn't want them. I don't know if they were technically in the shake-up, but they were hired on this episode of Raw, so we're going to count it and say Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to Raw.
Well, they are listed on the Superstars Shake-Up page on the WWE.com, so
we'll count it.
We'll go with that. I actually have no plans for these two.
Nor do I. I couldn't think of anything. I struggled.
The only thing I can figure is probably just to repeat this Shane McMahon storyline with Kurt Angle. But that just seems boring to me, but I have nothing for these two, which is sad. Because that probably means creative has nothing for them either.
Yeah, the only thing I could look at them was still, sticking together as a dastardly group and then slowly breaking apart. But then we're just going to get Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn 1,000 again. It's
or maybe just go all out with the tag team and put them in the tag team division. We do need bodies in that division.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have shown time and time again that they are willing to stab each other in the back at a moment's notice. So, I don't know where the trust is with these guys. I'm going to skip over the next one because it was a SmackDown trade. We'll come back to it. Zack Ryder to Raw.
Why couldn't he be shucking up to the unemployment line?
I feel like that's always going to be your opinion with Zack Ryder involved.
I'll pass because I have nothing good to say about Zack Ryder.
The only thing I had for Zack Ryder was to go into a feud against Kurt Hawkins, lose to Kurt Hawkins, and then eventually lead to those two teaming again. Because I was given more warm bodies this way. Put in Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins together into the tag team division. That's all I got for them.
Speaking of the tag team division,
Breezango over to Raw.
oh, that should be fun. That should be a fun combination. It'll be something different for them. In all honesty, they should have won the SmackDown tag team titles. The fact that they didn't was a crime.
Yep.
And I'm going to rectify
Is that a pun?
that. Yes, it was it was both intentional and unintentional. I feel with my plan, it would be to rectify that and to put them at the top of the Raw division. Once you get past the breakup of the more than likely next tag team champions of Matt and Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, I feel like they came out of the bat swinging on Raw. They came out, they looked good. It wasn't just like, a gimmick throwaway thing where they lose in the end. They looked good. They came out. I'm fingers crossing that Fashion Files is going to keep going, even if it's a WWE.com thing, just because those are so good. But in terms of the team, it looks like the team is going to get momentum going forward. All I had is please keep doing Fashion Files.
The most dominant tag team in the division at the time.
Yeah.
In a surprise win. So they're definitely getting on the ground running. So we'll have to see where they go, but there's definitely potential there.
Yeah. Next up, Natalya.
Veteran presence for the locker room, and there to mentor Ronda Rousey.
Yep.
And that's her role.
Yeah, the first thing I saw was obviously Ronda Rousey came out and helped her out and everything. It looked initially at that point, Ronda and Natalya versus the two women from Absolution. They're not there anymore, spoilers for the next 10 minutes. But they did just get a trio called the Riot Squad.
Which were basically Absolution for SmackDown, so...
Yeah, I thought we could just switch out Absolution, put Riot Squad in, give Natalya and Rousey a third member, possibly Ember, she's running hot at the moment, pun intended, and just have a 3v3 that sort of builds to nothing, but we're building Ronda up as a competitor, getting her that experience, and the Riot Squad losing to Ronda isn't going to be horrendous for them. Next up, Mojo Rawley.
I'd like to say I have a plan for him, because as it's well known, I really do like Mojo, but I have no plans.
Yeah, me neither.
Because I don't know if they're actually going to do anything with them or not.
Now, next up, there's sort of a pair, so we'll mention them together. Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre.
We do need warm bodies for the tag team division.
We do. But I still want Drew. Now, Drew, Jinder, and Heath are all on the same brand. I don't want you to do it, because that demotes two of them very heavily. But I want the hint. I want them to have a backstage segment. I want something.
That would be fun. I really don't have any plans because I just don't care about Dolph Ziggler. Yeah. Drew has a potential, but the fact that he's been saddled with Dolph, I don't care. I simply don't care.
My Dolph Ziggler plan was versus the Authors of Pain 2-on-1. Next up, Baron Corbin.
Well, I definitely in position to be a top heel.
Yep.
On Raw. I would probably just have him squash people for a little while, and then have him go up against Braun Strowman for SummerSlam.
That's a toughie.
Yeah, that would be a tough match, but that would be a pretty good one, I think. And I think it would be somewhat believable because didn't Corbin eliminate Strowman in Royal Rumble a couple years ago?
I'm sure something like that happened. Corbin's not booked weak. He's pretty strong. My thing I had for Corbin was a little bit of a teeny feud, not a big thing. I just want to see Baron Corbin versus Rhino.
That would be fun. I would be definitely watching that.
Next up, you've already pre-warned me you have nothing for him, Mike Kanellis.
Yep. I didn't bother coming up with anything because I don't really care about Mike Kanellis because he's just a knockoff Miz.
Yep.
And his wife is a knockoff Maurice.
Oh, straight to the heart. Well, the only thing I was able to write down for Mike was that he should go around backstage annoying people with baby photos. Um, that's all I had.
Make him the Maze Hughes of wrestling. That's a few female Alchemist wrestler. It's just for the record.
Gotcha. Yeah, I had nothing for Mike, but I figure he can be a comedy character just popping around. I don't know. The Ascension.
The only thing I have for them is to continue what we're already doing. That's just hopelessly follow Breezango wherever they go. Try to do whatever they can do to try to be friends with them.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I got for them.
The only thing other than that I had was Wyatt and Hardy while they're still champions. I want to see the four of them go. I don't think the Ascension... Like, it seems like everybody who got drafted to Raw, the internet was like, oh, Matt Hardy and Bray can just throw them in the Lake of Reincarnation and do this. And there was like 60-odd bloody options the internet had going. Can we just have a match? Okay, they're two tag teams, they're on Raw, they'll probably have a match. I'm fine with that.
You have to build the champs up somehow, and the Ascension's as good as anybody because they're pretty much dead in the water as it is without whatever life they have from Breezango.
Yeah. Bobby Roode.
I cringed because I did not want him to be the last announcee. I did not want to be in that final match because, dag name it, he needs to be a freaking heel.
It's not gonna happen.
And that's my plan. Turn him heel. I don't care how.
Okay.
Turn him heel.
It disappointed me. I had almost nothing for him. The only thing I could come up on a whim was versus Elias. I just thought Rude and Elias would have a bit of chemistry there.
It would be fun to see, but dadgummit, that was their chance to make him a heel, and they did not go with it.
Josh cries. The last one, he was on social media, announced Chad Gable heading to Raw.
Well, we can either put him back together with Jason Jordan when Jason Jordan returns from his injury, or we can actually do something with him. And I say, let's do something with him. Let's push him towards the Intercontinental Championship.
Okay.
Because I think him and Seth would make an amazing match together.
I got a bad feeling it will just be American Alpha together again.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we had for Raw. Those are the people drafted over. Now, I totally haven't forgotten or anything, but could you remind me what song we're gonna play? Nobody can remember.
I've picked Joe. I picked Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe, that's right. For reasons for SmackDown, we'll know. So here's Samoa Joe's theme. And you're back with Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM and ArrowFM. Grady and Josh, two of us, two radio stations. But we're on SmackDown now. We're going to talk about the picks here. First up, Jeff Hardy with the US title.
The second he won the championship, I knew he was going to SmackDown. A lot of people were like, oh, they brought... obviously, they put the title on him so he can be the champion on Raw, and they can take Seth over to SmackDown. I'm like, nah, it's not going to happen. And lo and behold, Jeff Hardy showed up on SmackDown. And by the way, can I say that Benjamin's been without Chad Gable for 15 seconds. I was already bored of him.
Oh.
The guy has no charisma.
Oh.
But Jeff's is going to be carrying the United States Championship, so that's his plan that I have for him is to defend it, I would say probably have him against Orton first, because Orton already has a #1 contendership anyway. And then eventually you have him face Cesaro after the Cesaro and Sheamus breakup. Okay. And Cesaro wins the title from him. That's my plan.
Bold claim. I had nothing, honestly. But Jeff Overton, I don't know him. But I like your plan. I don't like the part about Cesaro and Sheamus breaking up, but we'll get there. Female tag team, we talked about it a little bit already. Absolution, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville coming on over.
Well, they were still using Paige's theme, so it was kind of obvious that they were coming over to SmackDown. I don't care. I really don't.
The only thing I had was them versus the Iconics, just because that's the only like duos.
Yeah. I really don't. I mean, I like them, but I have nothing for him.
I still want Mandy Rose with Goldust, but they split, so there's no way I can do that. Sadly, I cry. I could see them doing some potential angle, obviously, with Paige as the general manager, where they're trying to play up to her, and then either she'll either embrace it and help them out, or completely ignore them and turn away from them. I'm gonna assume that's what we'll play to, but I got nothing long term with those two. Samoa Joe, the man whose theme we played.
Yes, he's probably the biggest benefit of all of this. Um, as long as Joe was on the shark-infested waters of Raw, he honestly was not going to get a fair shake, even though he was dominant in his own right.
Mm-hmm.
If the United States and Intercontinental titles do still switch brands, it's going to be because of Joe winning the Intercontinental Championship in that ladder match. I don't expect that. I expect the titles to stay on the brands that they are currently.
Okay.
But Joe's definitely on a position where we now can get some amazing dream matches inside the WWE ring, and I think he's going to be in a position where he can be pushed to the moon as a heel for SmackDown.
Yeah. The only thing I've written down is Joe versus AJ.
My plan is that you keep him strong by having him smash people, and eventually to Survivor Series, him versus Daniel Bryan.
Ooh. I think as soon as Joe showed
up, maybe have him for SummerSlam. Maybe have him versus AJ.
Yeah.
AJ's already lost the championship, so it's not for its title. But I figure that at SummerSlam, Daniel Bryan will win the WWE Championship, and you can have him defend it against Joe at Survivor Series.
Okay. Yeah, I think as soon as Joe showed up, it was like, well, we could do Joe versus AJ. We could do Joe versus Bryan. We can do Joe versus Nakamura. We can do Joe versus... And the list goes on.
Yeah. He has an infinite number of paths, so that wasn't that hard.
Next up, Sanity sans Nikki Cross.
A lot of people had a problem with Nikki not being part of the group on the call-up. I don't. I think Nikki needs to be her own person and separate from Sanity. And I think she should be the one that takes the title from Shayna Baszler. She's the only person in NXT women's division right now that's crazy enough to be able to do it.
Or Dakota Kai. I'm not mad that Nikki's not there. I'm disappointed.
Alright. My plan for them is push Eric Young towards the United States Championship, and Dane and the other guy push them towards the tag team titles, and push them as a trio that can just run rampant across the entire SmackDown Live roster.
I don't know. I went with the too obvious choice here, and I went with these three versus the three of the New Day. It's the obvious choice.
Yeah. Maybe they could be the instrument that breaks up the New Day.
No, that'll never happen. Nope. I'm gonna just move on and ignore you said it. Didn't happen. Big Cass. Let's start talking about Big Cass.
Obviously, the plan is for him to become a major heel by working with Daniel Bryan. And I'm on board with that. That would definitely be what I would do. If you're going to bring him back as a heel, definitely the biggest fish that you can put him against that can get him the most heat is the recently cleared Daniel Bryan.
Yep. Next up, female wrestler. How many weeks till Asuka has the title?
I'll go with Money in the Bank.
Okay.
I will say she will win the Money in the Bank and cash it on the same night. That's my plan.
Yeah, okay. Yep. All I've written that Asuka will be champion, like, soon, is all I've written down. That's it. That's all I got. The next one, The Club. Gallows and Anderson.
Well, they're on the same brand as AJ, so if they want to reform want to put a club together, they certainly can do that.
Too many clubs.
But I'm in the same position as I was several times already. I simply do not care about the club.
Oh.
So I don't care what they do.
Oh. Yeah, I've written down that potentially in my head, because we've seen them with Styles before, I would prefer them to get injected into this feud and cost Styles the match, uh, and go against Styles.
That would be an interesting change. That would be for sure.
I just don't want it to be the same thing again, you know? Oh,
Yeah.
the club's on Raw, they're with Finn. Club's on SmackDown now, they're with AJ. Just do something different. These guys, honestly, I know you're not their biggest fans, but they've had a very short end of a stick in terms of doing anything.
Well, they are a two-time tag team champions, so I
But can
can't
you
say that.
even remember those reigns?
Yes.
Oh, you have too good of a memory. I can't even remember what I ate for dinner 2 minutes ago. I think it was chicken. But another tag team that you obviously don't see future in, Cesaro and Sheamus.
Oh, I think that they'll stay together for a little while, but the reason I said, but I think that their livelihood as a tag team is coming to an end in the next 6 months.
Oh.
It's not because I don't like them or anything. It's just I think it's gotten to the point where, much as the same way that I feel about the New Day, I love the New Day. I have the entire time, but it's time for something different. It's time to go separate ways.
What about
And
this? They get so mad at each other that we have to book a best of 7 series.
how about we just have one match so we can finally have somebody win that original best of 7 match series?
Oh. I don't know. If I had to pick out of the two, gun to my head, I'd pick Sheamus. Always have, always will. He's my boy. So I want to see big things if we do split. In the short term, I want to see these two versus the Bludgeon Brothers.
Yeah, that would be an interesting feud. And that's where I'd probably go, and I'd probably have them lose to the Fusion feud, and that be the spark that ends their teammate. At least begins the process of breaking them down.
Alright, third to last male wrestler, R-Truth. R-Trizzle.
Oh, you gotta love R-Truth. He thought he was on Raw. Oh,
Is that all he's gonna give us though? Comedy segments?
yeah, I don't think that'll ever not be funny.
Okay.
Um, he's a mid-card jobber fodder. That's about it.
I had nothing for him but funny backstage skits.
Yep, funny backstage skits and the occasional putting somebody over because he's like 46, 47.
Yep. Alright, second to last, we're flipping back to Raw because this man got drafted early. The Miz.
He was the only person to actually be drafted live.
Yeah.
As we're going to get the feud we've wanted for 3 years.
How long till I get it?
Well, apparently they're going to be starting to work on the match at least on the UK tour.
Okay.
So, and that's in a few weeks. So I'm going to say we're going to see the match probably not at Backlash, but probably the next pay-per-view.
Okay.
I would personally rather have it at SummerSlam, but my plan for Daniel Bryan, though, involves him facing Nakamura at SummerSlam, so that kind of can't happen.
I know, I just want these two to get good time. I want to see that video package. By God, that video package is going to be amazing.
Yeah. And the promos, at least from Miz, is going to be amazing because he'll have a license to absolutely tear Daniel Bryan down, and now that Daniel Bryan can defend himself, he has a license to tear Miz down. So this should be a lot of fun.
Just push all your plans out 6 months. You know, Miz Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam, Daniel Bryan Nakamura at Survivor Series or whatever, and then just keep pushing it further and further.
But then that affects my plan for Samoa Joe.
Yep.
Um,
It's a knock-on effect, but we don't have time to talk about it. We got to get to the last one. Last draft pick, up from NXT, Andrade Cien Almas with Zelina Vega.
This should be fun. Cien definitely got a big showcase back in the Royal Rumble. He had a huge title reign on NXT when nobody expected him to carry the title. And they definitely can get a lot of heat. And the interesting thing about Zelina is that they've listed her as an individual arrival,
Yeah,
rather than just being part of Almas's gimmick. which may mean she may end up being in part of the in the ring as well,
She can go.
which will help SmackDown's division. Almas, I don't really have anything for him so much. Just the usual new guy squashes a bunch of people for a while.
I got him crushing Ty Dillinger because I want to see the 10 versus 100 thing again from NXT. And the only other thing I've listed is I want to see Cien Almas versus Rusev Day. That's all I got.
Yep.
So that's what I have for Cien. Zelina, obviously, will just head to the division and hopefully not run into Asuka too soon. Rip if she does. Alright, well...
Quite literally, because I'll probably tear her arm off and beat her with it.
Oh, so many arms being ripped off. Rousey's gonna rip arms off on Raw. Asuka's gonna rip them off on SmackDown. Baszler is gonna rip them off in NXT. Just, keep your arms safe, people, okay? Just keep them safe. Okay, so that's all we got time for. It's been great talking to you.
Bye-bye.
Next week we'll talk preview for Greatest Royal Rumble, but until then you can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestling radio, or Twitter page, twitter.com/wrestling radio, and we'll see you next week.